Welcome to We Know Marketing, We Promise, the podcast where strategy meets conversation. We're Naoma and Kelsie, two agency owners who live and breathe branding and marketing. We're here to share real stories, smart strategies, and fresh ideas to help you build a brand that actually works. So grab a seat and your favorite drink and let's dive in. Welcome back.
Hi, we are a little delirious. Well, I am. And we're going to talk about how to not lose your mind while building a personal brand.
Yeah, why am I taking so much of my time to invest in a personal brand? Because it feels so hard.
Well, and the thing is, like, you don't see any of the reward until months.
Years sometimes.
For me, it's been years.
Me too.
For me, it's been years. And I'm like, just keep posting pretty much.
So why does it feel so hard?
One, I think you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then you try to do all of it perfectly. And you're doing nothing at least well. Definitely not perfectly.
Definitely not perfect, but not even well most of the time, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah.
So I think that's one. And then
too high of standard.
Yeah. And then two, I think your friends are like, what the hell are you doing? You're like, don't look over here.
Don't look at my LinkedIn. Don't get on there. Don't get on my Instagram.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think that's part of it. And then
yeah.
For me, it's also just like, I know that you don't have the problem where you're like, what are other people doing around me? But I do have that problem. So I'm like, oh, this designer is posting about this. This strategist is posting that. I should be doing that. And then I don't, because I get intimidated.
Yeah, I think it's definitely intimidating. And there's so much of it's a personal brand, so it's very personal. Yeah. So there's so many feelings involved in it. And so it's like, yeah, is this too much? Is this too little? What are they thinking? What are they not thinking? Is this even resonating? It's so easy to get in our heads about it rather than putting together a strategy, sticking to the strategy, and just keep moving because you know how important it is. That's really hard to do.
It is. And I think just also the consistency. It's a beast. And I think the only reason I've been able to really build on it is because I've done the newsletter.
Yeah.
And so I've built that little bit of a consistency muscle doing that. And I'm like, okay, I have been able to do that every single week. I can now add on one more thing.
Yeah.
But I had to stop and look at it that way. I was like, I'm not going to do all the things. I'm not going to make reels. I'm not going to be on LinkedIn. I'm not going to do the newsletter. I'm not going to be, I don't know, on TikTok.
Yeah, you've strategically chosen what you're going to spend your time doing because you have a limited amount of time and capacity. Yeah. So it's like, what is most important? And for you, that has been LinkedIn content and a weekly newsletter, which I think is really great for where you're currently at.
Yeah. And then we've added this, right? The podcast.
Right. Now we've added the podcast.
Which, because I think we're masochists.
Its own beast.
You think it's easy to just sit here and talk? You don't know the mental hurdle of setting all these wires up.
And doing this for 2 days on your weekend.
Yeah.
When your kid's at home.
Yeah. Where you could be doing literally anything but this.
But we love it.
So be grateful. You're like, be love it. I'm like, be grateful.
She's like, we hate this.
No, I love it.
We wouldn't be sitting here on a Saturday if we did not love doing this.
Yes.
So, and similar, I love building a personal brand on LinkedIn. I do think it's quite fun once you start seeing the results. Once you start having the discovery calls booked and you're starting to see people's lives impacted by the content that you're sharing and the value that you're providing. And then when it obviously turns into revenue for your business, that also adds another layer of motivation to kind of keep you going. So I do think it's very intimidating when you think about posting and you have a personal brand and there's so much that goes into it. And especially if you're listening to us, because all we talk about is how intentional you need to be. And so we kind of raise the bar even on the seriousness of it. But having a personal brand does not mean that you have to post every single day.
No.
Like you're learning what your capacity is. I've learned kind of what my capacity is. And you figure out what that is. And then you set a system, which is, we're going to take you guys through basically how to actually do this, how to have an action plan for your personal brand and how to do it. Because the previous one, I think we were convincing you guys that you needed one. And now I think a lot of people are bought into the fact that they need a personal brand.
Yeah.
But now, like, how do we do this? And how do we do this for years? Like you and I were saying, we started to see results years down the road, not just months. So this is not something you can just buckle down and say, I'm going to start posting more and I'm going to do this. Like, you really do need to have a few things in place that can help you succeed.
Well, I also think that you need to define why you're doing this.
Yeah.
Right? Why are we doing this? What is the end goal of me building a personal brand? For some, it could be that you own your own business and you're wanting to build faster trust with your business so you can make better business connections, collaborations, speaking gigs, all that stuff. For some of you that have a job, it may be that you're maybe looking for your next opportunity. We will not tell your boss. It could be that you're trying to move up higher up in the business and you need to be a little bit more visually seen and represent the company to an extent.
Yeah.
And show your expertise. So there's two reasons. So if you're a business owner, there's a high reason to do it. But even if you're listening and you're not one of the business owners that tune in, it's still super important for you to also be building one.
This is something that you should be doing because you don't know what opportunities can come from it. And then you also don't know where the world's going to go.
Yeah.
And so if you have expertise and you have a name and you are an authoritative leader on these digital platforms, you are going to have more opportunities, period. Whether it's a business owner, you want to quit your business and start another business, you want to sell your business, you want to move on. It's never too late, but the time to start would have been yesterday, of course. And so let's take them through a few of the things that we've done, which we wrote these down. So we do have some notes on how to actually do this.
So step one, I'm going to let you take this because this is definitely more your lane, pun intended.
So the first thing is basically this is kind of the foundation of what you'll be posting out of. I call them content pillars. You can call them content lanes for your personal brand. Basically, these are going to be 2 to 3 things. You want to hit on what you do, how you think, so your point of view, and then you also want them to see who you are kind of behind the scenes, a little bit more of the personal side of life. So you can take those 3 different lanes, and you're a unique individual. So even if I do this and Naoma does this, like, our personal brands are going to look totally very different. And so you want to take those things and write them down and figure out what kind of content can I create from these 3 lanes. And if you have more, that's absolutely okay. I wouldn't go over like 5 because it can get a little bit confusing. I think 3 really is the sweet spot, but figure out what your content lanes are and stick to them over a long period of time. So these are not something that needs to change often. This is something you establish and then you reevaluate probably once or twice a year. Yeah. So kind of stick those somewhere in a document. The next thing's going to be about systems. So have this written out to where you're revisiting what those lanes are. Because the main thing is if you're not set up for success with what you're going to be talking about and who you are and what you do, then you're going to think that you're lazy, and you're not lazy. You just need clarity and you just need systems in place to help you do this. And so write down those 3 different things. Once again, what do you do? So your expertise, how you think, so what's your point of view, and then who you are. So behind the scenes, personal stories, things that you're learning, people relate to
imperfect
mistakes.
People.
I was about to say, people relate to your mistakes. They relate to your wins and they want to celebrate with you. Like, that's the one thing about a personal brand. Like, when you're actually letting people into the ins and outs of your professional life, like, they want to celebrate the wins with you and they want to be there for you when you make a big mistake. And so being able to be authentic and vulnerable in those posts is really, really important. Mm-hmm. But that's why we have the 3 lanes, because you don't want to stay in one lane for an entire month. Like, you want to have all 3 lanes come out in your content all throughout the month that you're posting.
Yeah.
And so I recommend 30 days, figure out what kind of content post you want to do. And if you want to hit on those 3 different lanes over the course of 4 weeks, how much content sustainably can you post? Is that 4 times a week? Is that 2 times a week? If it's only 2 times a week, that is okay. But make sure you're going between these 3 lanes throughout the 4 weeks that you're planning, and batch plan. Because if you're not set up, If you don't have a plan, you're not going to be set up for success.
Yeah.
And you're going to fall back into shame because you think you're lazy, but you're actually not. You just didn't set yourself up for success with a plan. So that's what I would say about the content lanes.
Finding that balance of how much personal versus expertise to share is great. I find it easier to share expertise at first when I first started.
Yeah.
Like talking about what I did was a lot easier than me getting very vulnerable about my story and where I'm from and all of that.
Yeah.
So
now we can get into.
Now it's creating the system, which I love. I love systems.
Yeah,
so create a system. And I think the way, this is going to sound very crazy, but the way I started with my newsletters is I would drive home, park in the driveway, and for 20 minutes I would write in my notes app about something that happened that day, a thought about branding, something I heard on a podcast, and like my reflection of it.
Yeah.
And that's how I started my newsletters, is I would type them out in my notes app in my car. And if I was still thinking, because sometimes I can get into a groove of writing, like I'm like, okay, I'm on a roll and I can write out like 6 or 7 of them at a time. And at that time, my son was like 2 and I would rock him to sleep and he would be in my arms and I would be typing in my notes app like the rest of the newsletters.
Wow.
So it is a little crazy, but that's what worked for me.
Yeah.
And so my notes app was my go-to, but like
that was like a system you had in place. So when you like park your car, it's like, I'm going to work on my newsletter. Like you have that kind of built into your pattern of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was always trying to reflect on what was something that happened that day that I can relate back to branding.
Yeah.
Or what is something that I listened to on a podcast that I can relate back to branding. And that's how I built that muscle of how do I bring the story back to my expertise.
Yeah.
Whatever that story could be. Just write things out.
Yeah.
Like I've said, I'm a writer. Kelsie is definitely a verbal processor. So like video is really great for her.
Yeah.
I think a few times when I was verbal processing, I was even using my voice memo app.
Yeah.
So whatever that is for you,
yep.
You will soon discover the best way to get things out of your head. If that's writing, if that's verbal processing through the voice notes.
Mm-hmm. I really like voice notes because I think a lot while I'm driving. And so I can like do a little voice note. And even if I send it to a team member in Slack or I just open my voice memos app, I can go back to it and then even plug that into AI and ask it to tell me like what were the key takeaways of this conversation that I had today, or what is knowing what you know about me, what in this voice memo is most important or whatever. But I think the importance and like what I want to hit on is like, if you're doing a system, it has to make sense for your lifestyle and it has to be able to become a habit. The process that I always have with my personal brand content is like, you've got to mark head down time on your calendar to do this. And I recommend every person that is starting out with a personal brand and starting out as a business owner, but specifically with a personal brand, like spend the first 2 hours of every day doing content if you're a business owner. That will be the best ROI that you will see. If you are creating content for 2 hours every single day, you will start seeing revenue come in. I have no doubt in my mind. And especially if you're staying within these like content lanes that we're talking about and you have a system that's actually working. So you plan the content, you record the content, you write the copy, and then you schedule it out and you have that cadency in your habits, you will be successful. I have no doubt in my mind. And if you're not, then there's something wrong with your positioning, your messaging. The content lanes that you're currently utilizing are not effective. And so you need to reevaluate that. But it happens faster and faster, I'm noticing, than it did with me. Like I was such a guinea pig in exploring all these things. So it did take years, but I'm noticing a lot of client accounts are not taking years to see revenue come in the door. So I would say like calendar, put things in your calendar, set them for recurring, and then in the description, write out what you're going to do during that time. So if it's a planning period, if it's a brainstorm, if it's a batch recording, if it's a batch writing, and I would just say 2 hours every day until you have enough money to not need to do it yourself.
If 2 hours sounds intimidating, I would say at least do 1 hour and the other hour be commenting and engaging. If like creating and pulling things out of your brain is too much, because, at least for me, by
Yeah, that's fair.
commenting and engaging, I'm also seeing what other people are looking at, what
Yeah.
people are talking about, how they're talking about it. And then if my comment is in there, I can still position myself as an expert, even in the comment section.
Yes. And I have gotten so much great feedback from commenting, like especially on really big thought leaders that are doing a great job. I mean, David C. Baker, and he'll comment back on everything. And so if I can get a comment on his article within the first, like 5 minutes or hour, I have my notifications on when he posts so that I can go to his post and like comment, but I need to read through what he wrote and I need to have something thoughtful to say, and I need to have a question.
Yeah, not just like, sounds great, this is awesome.
Exactly. Or like, hey, have you thought about it this way? This is how I think, basically like put me in my place, because I would love to think differently about this, but this is kind of how I've always thought about it.
We cannot harp on this enough, but like create a system that is sustainable for you.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to make it a perfect system and then you fall flat, like then you feel guilty and then you don't do this. So create something that is just easy for you to at least start to build. That consistency muscle is so hard to build if you've never done it.
Yeah.
So at least get that going, and then you can add more, think about doing more stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the consistency with posting is like, if you can only, like I had mentioned, if you can only post 3 times a week, having consistent topics that you're hitting on. So only sharing one personal story once a week, and then making the other 2 posts expertise posts. Put a system in place and a structure in place, and set a goal to do it for 6 months, and then reevaluate and also know yourself really well. I am not a person that sticks to systems well, but I have to have them. And as much as I'll resist them and kind of squirm, I will end up submitting to them. So if it's on my calendar, like I'm going to do it, or I'm going to move it and do it at another time. Sorry, team.
The real.
That's the real deal for me.
But create a system that works for your brain, and just create a goal of a consistency. The next step is write like a human. I know that we're all in the rise of AI, and some people are using ChatGPT, and then people are calling out ChatGPT.
Yes.
Which those posts are the most annoying to me, because I'm like, I don't know. I feel like you were just the school bully. I don't know. Hot
We're
take.
all just trying to get by.
I know. But your personal brand should sound like you. So if you are a stuffy person, then maybe it should sound stuffy.
Yeah, that's right.
But if you are not, then it really should sound like you. We are proponents of AI. You can use AI to help you get that, but make sure, one thing that I always do when I use AI is I always read it out loud to make sure that that's actually like something I would actually say. So that helps. But yeah, make it sound like yourself. And then I'm gonna let you talk about the frameworks.
Yeah, so when you're thinking about all of these posts, like I don't want to overwhelm you guys, because I know it can be a lot. So you have your content lanes, you have the plan for the next 4 weeks, and as you're structuring out the different types of posts, you want to be very consistent with the format. And so I always recommend obviously having a hook at the beginning, and then going into the pain point or the problem that you are solving for your audience member. So if your ideal customer is a very specific person, like a personal injury lawyer, what pain point are you solving for them? More than likely, for me and my business, I know that personal injury lawyers don't have a ton of time. Mm-hmm. And they definitely don't have time to be managing their own social media, their personal brand or the business brand. And so something I'm going to hit on big in my video is going to be about time. And one of the things we did in the last 6 months was learn that on average, we are saving the CEOs that work with us about 20 hours a month from having to do personal brand content or business brand content. So we kind of asked questions, figured it out, added up the time, and we figured out this is how much time they were spending on it before they hired us. So that is something I hit on a lot in the videos. So the hook could be something like, do you want 20 hours back of your time? And then you could go into that problem. We know that you're spinning your wheels doing this, 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 and this, and then giving the time, and then tying in how we solve that problem for them. and what relief comes from them. So then it's like, what would they spend their other 20 hours doing, and giving examples of what we've heard from clients that they now are getting to do in the business that is generating more revenue, because that creates more value that Stevie's bringing to their company. So hook, pain or the problem, and then how you solve it. Your perspective on it is also really important, because you're going to have a unique point of view. And so for your personal brand, you need to be sharing your point of view and understand that not everyone's going to agree with your point of view. And that's great, because we're all different people. We need to have differing opinions. So your perspective and your point of view really, really matters on your personal brand. Not as much on your business brand, but it really matters for your personal brand. And it does need to align with your core values, and it needs to make sense. Like if you're a more stuffy or blunt person, then that's how you should represent yourself on LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever you're posting your personal brand.
I remember when I would get asked this, I was like, I don't know what my perspective is on branding. And the more I wrote about it and the more I would comment on things, that's when I started to really be able to shape it and say, this is how I think about branding. This is the theory I have. This is what it is for me. And so I think that that's really hard to do at first. So really looking at what are the news things that are coming out about your industry, and thinking, how do I feel about that?
Exactly.
Does that feel right to me? Does that not feel right to me? And then you can write your post about it, or your video, or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing would just be to ask a question, make them think, like end the video or the post with some type of value, like asking them a question. I don't like the idea of putting call to actions on every post. I think it's
too much.
It's too much. Very much. Yeah, it's way too much. So I would say like 10% of the time, put a call to action.
Yeah.
And the example that I even gave you guys of like the video with giving CEOs back 20 hours, like I wouldn't even add that much salesy type stuff into my content.
No, that's
I would
definitely
talk about
a sales post. Yeah.
Yeah, that's more of a sales post, but I could still talk about the importance of having those 20 hours back and what I have seen my clients do with 20 hours back. And so there's ways to talk about information that you're getting from your clients without it coming across salesy or cringy, which I would say in some ways it's cringy, but in other ways it's like some people are drowning, and that would bring so much relief if they had 20 hours back every month. And so that kind of leads us into like the last
little bit
is like pushing through the cringe, because when you first start,
it's so bad
and it's so uncomfortable, and you're like, oh, this is awful. I look so stupid on that video, or that post was stupid, or no one even liked it, or blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The millions of things that will go through your head, but keep going.
Yeah. The only way to get better at creating content for your personal brand is to create more content.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like with any type of skill, like you only get better by doing more of it.
Yeah, it's very true. Practice, and keep going, and realize that it takes a long time to see the results, and talk to your friends about it. Like put yourself around people that are
also building
or
trying to build a personal brand,
see the significance and see the importance of what you guys are doing, and encourage each other and comment on each other's stuff. And like it is cringy. Like it feels horrible sometimes, but believe it or not, some of the cringiest things that I've posted have been the ones that resonate the most with some of the people that get on discovery calls with me. And so it still sounds like me. It just feels yucky in the beginning. And then you kind of just don't care when you reach a certain point.
Yeah, I think I'm at that point where I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like when you start realizing how much you're helping people, then that kind of pulls me out of that stuck feeling. Because I get on a discovery call and someone's like, oh my gosh, I watched this video that you did and I had no idea this, and this. And we haven't been doing our social media based on a strategy at all. And all those 3 things that you talked about in the video, like I'm posting day of, I have no idea for content ideas. None of it even represents our brand well. I need help. Like when you see that and you hear someone on the phone in that way, I feel like that pulls me out of it as well. And it's like, no, I really do have something that is helping people and it's generating revenue for people's businesses. And you guys have that for your business too. So, so know that what you're doing has purpose and you really are helping people, and you have to keep going.
Yeah.
So
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Go build your personal brand. And that's a wrap on this episode of We Know Marketing, we promise. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your business bestie. Want more? Follow us for updates, behind the scenes, and plenty of marketing gems.